You might remember the housing crash in 2008, even if you didn't own a home at the time. If you're worried there's going to be a repeat of what happened back then, there's good news. The housing market now is different from 2008. One important reason is there aren't enough homes for sale. That means there's an undersupply, not an oversupply like the last time. For the market to crash, there would have to be too many houses for sale, but the data doesn't show that happening. Housing supply comes from three main sources: homeowners deciding to sell their houses, newly built homes, distressed properties like foreclosures and short sales. Here's a closer look at today's housing inventory to understand why this isn't like 2008. Homeowners deciding to sell their houses. Although housing supply did grow compared to last year, it's still low. The current month's supply is below the norm. This graph shows this more clearly. If you look at the latest data, shown in green, compared to 2008, shown in red, there's only about a third of that available inventory today. So, what does this mean? There just aren't enough homes available to make home values drop. To have a repeat of 2008, there'd need to be a lot more people selling their houses with very few buyers. And that's not happening right now. Let's look at newly built homes. People are also talking a lot about what's going on with newly built houses these days, and that might make you wonder if homebuilders are overdoing it. The graph shows the number of new houses built over the last 52 years. The 14 years of underbuilding, shown in red, is a big part of the reason why inventory is so low today. Basically, builders haven't been building enough homes for years now, and that's created a significant deficit in supply. While the final blue bar on the graph shows that's ramping up and is on pace to hit the long-term average again, it won't suddenly create an oversupply. That's because there's too much of a gap to make up. Plus, builders are being intentional about not overbuilding homes like they did during the bubble. Let's look at distressed properties. The last place inventory can come from is distressed properties, including short sales and foreclosures. Back during the housing crisis, there was a flood of foreclosures due to lending standards that allowed many people to get a home loan they couldn't truly afford. Today, lending standards are much tighter, resulting in more qualified buyers and far fewer foreclosures. This graph shows data from the Federal Reserve to show how things have changed since the housing crash. This graph illustrates, as lending standards got tighter and buyers were more qualified, the number of foreclosures started to go down. And in 2020 and 2021, the combination of a moratorium on foreclosures and the forbearance program helped prevent a repeat of the wave of foreclosures we saw back around 2008. The forbearance program was a game changer, giving homeowners options for things like loan deferrals and modifications they didn't have before. And data on the success of that program shows 4 out of every 5 homeowners coming out of forbearance are either paid in full or have worked out a repayment plan to avoid foreclosure. These are a few of the biggest reasons there won't be a wave of foreclosures coming to the market. What this means for you: inventory levels aren't anywhere near where they'd need to be for prices to drop significantly and the housing market to crash. According to Bankrate, that isn't going to change anytime soon, especially considering buyer demand is still strong. Bottom line: the market doesn't have enough available homes for a repeat of the 2008 housing crisis, and there's nothing that suggests that will change anytime soon. That's why housing inventory tells us there's no crash on the horizon. If you're thinking of buying a house, one of the biggest questions right now: what's happening with home prices? Despite what you may be hearing in the news, nationally, home prices aren't falling. It's just that price appreciation is beginning to normalize. In the housing market, there are predictable ebbs and flows that happen each year. It's called seasonality. Spring is the peak home buying season. This is typically still strong in the summer but begins to wane as the cooler months approach. Home prices follow along with seasonality because prices appreciate most when something is in high demand. That's because the market is less active in January and February since fewer people move in the cooler months. As the market transitions into the peak home buying season in the spring, activity ramps up, and home prices go up a lot more in response. Then, as fall and winter approach, activity eases again. Price growth slows, but still typically appreciates. After several unusual unicorn years, Today's higher mortgage rates helped usher in the first signs of the return of seasonality. In the coming months, you're going to see the media talk more about home prices. In their coverage, you'll likely see industry terms like these. Appreciation, when prices increase. Deceleration of appreciation, when prices continue to appreciate, but at a slower or more moderate pace. Depreciation, when prices decrease. Don't let the terminology confuse you or let any misleading headlines cause any unnecessary fear. The rapid pace of home price growth the market saw in recent years was unsustainable. It had to slow down at some point, and that's what we're starting to see: deceleration of appreciation, not depreciation. And that definitely doesn't mean home prices are falling. They're just rising at a more moderate pace. Bottom line. While the headlines are generating fear and confusion on what's happening with home prices, the truth is simple. Home price appreciation is returning to normal seasonality. If you have questions about what's happening with prices in our local area, let's connect. If your listing expired and your house didn't sell, you're likely feeling a little frustrated. Not to mention, you're also probably wondering what went wrong. Here are 3 questions to think about as you figure out what to do next. Did you limit access to your house? One of the biggest mistakes you can make when selling your house is restricting the days and times when potential buyers can tour it. Being flexible with your schedule is important when you're selling your house, even though it might feel a bit stressful to drop everything and leave when buyers want to see it. After all, minimal access means minimal exposure to buyers. Showing time advises. Sometimes, the most determined buyers might come from far away. Since they're traveling to see your house, they may not be able to change their plans easily if you only offer limited times for showings. So, try to make your house available as much as you can to accommodate them. It's simple. If no one's able to look at it, how's it going to sell? Did you make your house stand out? When selling your house, the old saying matters. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. Putting in the work to make the exterior of your home look nice is just as important as how you stage it inside. Freshen up your landscaping to improve your home's curb appeal so you can make an impact up front. As an article from US News says, but don't let that impact stop at the front door. By removing personal items and reducing clutter inside, you give buyers more freedom to picture themselves in the home. Additionally, a new coat of paint or cleaning the floors can go a long way to freshening up a room. Did you price your house compellingly? Setting the right price is extremely important when you're selling your house. Even though it might feel tempting to push the price higher to maximize your profit, overpricing can scare away buyers and make it hard to sell quickly. Business Insider notes: if your house is priced higher than others like it, it could make buyers lose interest. Pay attention to the feedback people give your agent during open houses and showings. If lots of people are saying the same thing, it might be a good idea to think about lowering the price. For all these insights and more, rely on a trusted real estate agent. A great agent will offer expert advice on relisting your house with effective strategies to get it sold. Bottom line. It's natural to feel disappointed when your listing has expired and your house didn't sell. Let's connect to figure out what happened and what to reconsider or change if you want to get your house back on the market.